Onyxia.
Hello, my name is Joseph, and in this week's vlog update, I'm thrilled to introduce a very exciting new feature that just released into Onyxia. This feature consists in showing you very concretely how Onyxia is launching services on your Kubernetes cluster namespace. So, at its core, Onyxia is a user interface for Helm. It provides a nice form that enables to customize some options and just click on a button to launch a data science oriented service on a Kubernetes cluster for you. It abstracts away all the complexity. You don't have to know about Kubernetes. You don't have to know anything about Helm. You can just use the Onyxia UI and start working on your data stuff. For example, here I just launched a Jupyter Python, so Jupyter services configured to work with Python. And just like that, I'm ready to go. So this is one aspect of what Onyxia is trying to do, trying to abstract away the complexity. But something that is also very important for us is to be very transparent with what we are actually doing on your behalf. We don't want to trap you into our user experience. We want to show what's going on, and we want to help you if you want to upscale in the technologies that are used. So namely Kubernetes and Helm here. So what's new is this comment. So this is what will actually be run on the backend by Onyxia API when you click on launch. This command is updated in real time. For example, if I update the friendly name here, you can see that it's now Jupyter Python 2. And if I go and look at all the configuration for the specific service, if I go in the form and I disable S3, you can see that now this boolean is toggled to false. And I can now, if I want, manually run those commands on any terminal that have remote access to my Kubernetes cluster, and it will actually be the same thing as if we would click on launch here. And this is not pseudocode. You can actually run that. So there are two ways to run this. First would be to launch a service and to open a terminal within and to run those. The second option, which we're going to try now, is to use our local terminal. I mean, my own terminal. If you go in my account and in the Kubernetes tab, you can see here you have all the credentials needed to connect to your Kubernetes cluster. You have a button to download a script that you will be able to execute. So provided you have kubectl and Helm installed. If you don't, you can just sudo apt-get install it, or brew install, or whatever it is on Windows. And now that I've downloaded the script, I can just sh, so it's in my download folder and it's config.sh. And now what this just did is connect me to my to the Kubernetes cluster of this Onyxia instance. So if I do kubectl get pods, I can see what's running on my namespace. So here I got this Jupyter Python that you can see here. My services here, Jupyter Python. I got a few other things that I launch manually, so this is why they don't show up here. And now we're gonna try and run and launch a service manually with the new command line. So we can we can choose to download and run the script directly, but I will rather guide you and do it line by line so I can explain what's going on. So first I'm gonna copy paste helm repo add IDE and this URL. This is to say I want to be able to install packages that are in this repository of Helm chart. So this is the repository interactive services that we've named IDE here, and you can see there's all those services, and we have to let Helm know about this repository. This is the first command. All right, I'm just gonna give it another name. So first command. Second command is to actually create a value.yaml file that will specify all the configuration that are set when I change value here. So some value are injected automatically, some you can change manually, but this is just a command that create, a value.yaml. You can see here, and the last command will create a deployment. So helm install Jupyter Python 2 from this repository of Helm chart on my namespace and use the value.yaml. Copy, paste. All right. So sure enough, it will show me exactly the same instructions that you see when you're first opening the README, you see? And you can even see that this services have just been created. So this is actually the same thing. This is the equivalent. This is not like on an abstract level the same thing. This is actually the same thing. And this is why it's interesting, because now if you want to tweak the values yourself, see in depth how it works, what are the configurations that are by default but that the UI isn't showing you, you can experiment with it. And yeah, that's it. Earlier I told you that there were two ways you could do that. The first way, we just saw it, it's with a local terminal, but you can also, if you don't have a local terminal that you have access or you cannot install anything, you can just open Jupyter Python or VS Code Python, anything. As long as you be careful to set edit permission on Kubernetes, what I did earlier, you can do it from a service. So I can, if I want, go and use a terminal here. Helm list. You can see everything works the same. And what's interesting is we're gonna add this in every page. We also already have this in my file, for example, and you can see here it shows what are the commands that are ran to list those your files in your buckets. So for example, if I wanted to see here the content of the devox or the, I don't know, data bio, all right, I can just copy this and run it here, allow to paste, and you see I have exactly the same thing. I have all the screen recordings that are here, and it works also for my secrets. So you can see this is using Vault behind the scenes, so it's using the Vault client. And if I copy this and I run it in my terminal, I'm gonna have exactly this, and sure enough, all right, et voila. So I hope that you find this new feature interesting, that it will encourage you in looking behind the curtain and explore a little bit how Onyxia is doing things. So you can both be a very productive data scientist and also very knowledgeable in computer science. So stay tuned for the next vlog, and I'll see you soon.
Onyxia,